Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This week on the Kindness Project, we talk about the marathon, Carb Loading, and we have part 2 of our interview with Andy Fearon from the Carlisle Vineyard Church.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kindness Project. I am joined by a girl who thinks a good gift is the book of the film that I hate the most in the world. It's Charlotte Dames. And we are joined live and in person by the man, the legend. He's wearing a shirt today, which is a bit of a shock. It's Russell Dames. How you doing, Russ?
I'm fine.
How you doing, Charlotte?
I'm doing good, and we're joined by a man who let one film colour his opinion of Nicolas Cage. It's Chris Day.
Nicolas Cage is back, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't spoken about Nicolas Cage, the actor that I think is the luckiest actor in the world, because for a man with very little talent and bad choice in selecting movies, he's done all right for himself, hasn't he?
I like some of his movies. Don't be dissing on Nicolas Cage.
I like some of his movies, but I don't like the one that you got for me, which was Gone Away or whatever.
It was an accident.
Left Behind. Gone Away. Email outbox is on. Left Behind, which is one of my no, not one of mine. The least favourite film I've ever watched in my life. I'm a visual version of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. What's the least favourite film you've ever seen, Charlotte?
I don't know.
No?
I've seen a lot of films.
How about you, Russ? Topless in Seattle?
I thought that was Sleepless in Seattle.
It was, not for you though, because you like to take your shirt off, didn't you, Russ? You share that story in the podcast.
That'd be Topless on Zoom, wouldn't it?
I thought we already shared that story on the podcast.
I don't know if we did, to be honest. I think we might have kept that on ourselves. Anyway, ladies and gents, how are we doing? What else is going on in our lives?
You've got a big thing tomorrow, haven't you?
I am running, ladies and gents. By the time you listen to this, I would have run the London Marathon. We're recording this on the Saturday. Saturday for me is a rest day because I've got quite a long run tomorrow, and I'm doing 26 miles tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to it. But it does give me an excuse. I've put quite a lot of training in, to be fair. It does give me an excuse to eat whatever I want today. Yeah. So I've gone out for a fry up. I might have a double-decker sandwich for lunch, and then I'm going to have pigs in blankets and quite. So
basically normal.
What do you mean normal? What do you mean normal? I don't normally have a pigs in blankets for dinner.
But the double-decker fry-up for lunch sounds pretty basic.
No, I normally have an omelette. Oh no.
By the state of the kitchen, you wouldn't know it was just an omelette you made.
Blah. It was just an omelette, but yeah, thank you, Charlotte. Yeah. So we've been out for a fry up. I'm gonna have I'm gonna make a state in the kitchen just to make a sandwich.
I have to clean the kitchen. You are not making a state of it.
I wonder how much mess I could make by just doing a sandwich. I don't know.
Knowing you could destroy the kitchen making a sandwich.
You know what I'm going to do, just intentionally? I'm going to slap a piece of ham on the ceiling, just so that you've got to reach up and get it.
I will not be able to. You will be taking the ham off the ceiling.
No, I'm going to blame you. I'm going to say to Mum when she gets in, Charlotte's been slapping ham at the ceiling.
Well, considering the only ham we have is meatless ham at the moment, I wouldn't even go near it.
Yes, you would.
It's vile.
You hate it so much you're going to chuck it at the ceiling, and that's my reason for you doing it. Anyway, this week's question in the podcast. What's going on in your world, Russ? Talk to us about.
I'm visiting, obviously.
You're down, yeah?
Yeah. I'll come to see you run in the London Marathon.
Yeah.
It's been busy at work, and
we moved offices, didn't we, Russ? We've had a bit of a busy week. But what we did find ourselves doing is yesterday waiting a long time for the IT man to come and sort out the internet in our new office. I've waited nearly 2 years. Well, actually, probably a bit more than 2 years to run the London Marathon because of this little thing. I don't know if you've heard of it. COVID. Have you heard of that COVID stuff?
Oh, you mean coronavirus?
Coronavirus. Have you heard of this COVID stuff, Russ?
I have.
Yeah. So tomorrow is going to be the opportunity in 2 years to get that done. So I'm really excited. But I have waited a long time to do it.
2 years.
So today's question of the podcast is all about waiting. Sorry, Russ, are we boring you? Why are you yawning in the middle of a podcast? What is going on with that?
Apologies.
I mean, nobody else saw the yawn.
Just the sound of your voice soothes me.
Podcast listeners, unofficial question of the podcast. Do I make you yawn? We'd love to know.
You wake me right up with how loud you are in my ear.
I know. Sorry about that. So the question of the podcast is, what have you waited for? What's the longest you've waited for anything? We would love to know the answer to that. Charlotte, what are your thoughts?
I was thinking about when we had the situation of when Soph came, and I'd been asking for a little sister, and you and Mum said it wasn't possible. And then after Soph came, and I was like, so is it dog time now?
True. Yeah, we said that you can have a little sister, and then we said, what are you asking for next?
Top class education.
Top class education. Yeah, well, you might get that. Russ, what have you been waiting for?
I don't wait for many things.
Oh, no. On demand for you, Russ.
Mainly IT.
Do you get whatever you ask for?
Mainly the IT men and phone calls from you.
Well, I tell you what, Russ is.
He doesn't respond to his messages either, Russ.
Does he?
Oh, right. Right, ladies and gents, like any relatively busy person, I'm sure we have a few listen to this. I try to manage my time as effectively as possible by being proactive and not
I'd hate to
reactive.
see your voicemail though.
I once opened your text messages and you had 200 unopened text messages.
Yeah, it does surprise
How do you
me.
do that? How do you have 200
Easy.
unopened text
I don't read
messages?
them. I rely on Russ to read all my messages, and then he just lets me know what I need to know.
That is true.
Nice and easy, yeah. But Russ had the perfect solution to waiting for the IT man yesterday. He just had a little nap. Sleeping. I walked into the office, Cassie, but my mum went to me. He's just having a little snooze in the corner. I was like, productive. I've been busy, like sort of meeting people and doing stuff.
What can you do without Wi-Fi nowadays?
True.
It was terrible.
So what we'd love to know, listeners, is
write in your journal. Just the IT man has yet to come. This is the only productive use of my time anymore.
How would you write a power nap? Just Zs.
Yeah,
just and why is Z the letter of the alphabet we use to describe sleep?
Don't know.
Get some Z's, isn't you?
Because nothing else starts with a Z.
Zebra.
Zebra?
Maybe zebra stands for sleep.
What? Sorry.
No.
What do we do when we want to go to sleep?
Sheep.
Do we count zebras? No, we don't.
Well, I do now. That's my new religion.
Russell's making the executive decision to count zebra.
Russell is changing the rules of sleep by not counting sheep anymore, counting zebras.
That's
quite a black and white approach to sleep.
I can't count stuff to go to sleep because I lose count and then get frustrated about myself losing count.
192, 100. Oh, God. We're going back to one. Anyway, going back to the. Moving away from the revelation that Russ counts zebras. Zebras or zebras? What are we going for? Zebra. When he sleeps. And the fact that Charlotte's just stolen all of my iced tea. Literally poured the entire cup that I haven't even drunk.
Right in front of you.
I haven't even had a drop of yet into her cup and started drinking it.
She didn't wait till you walked away.
I know. Just that blatant stealing of an iced tea. I don't know what's going on.
I made you that iced tea. It's mine.
You should ask yourself,
Yeah,
are you talking too much if she's busy?
I'm trying to host a podcast here. She's just sitting there chilling with an iced tea.
Actually, this is my second.
But we are going to give Charlotte a job while I drink her iced tea now. Tell us where our listeners can answer the question of the podcast.
Oh, right. No, that's fine.
Somewhere online if you can get on
Yeah.
the TV.
Okay. On Twitter, we're at Honor Kindness. On Facebook, if we just type the Kindness Project into the search bar, we should come up. On Google, it's the same, just the Kindness Project in the search bar, and we should come up. The website is www.thekindnessproject.co.uk. The email is honor@thekindnessproject.co.uk, and if you want to personally get in touch with Dad to...
Don't give out my phone number.
I don't know your phone number. To slander him about the fact that he drank all of my iced tea.
I feel a little bit nauseous now. I drank the iced tea too quick.
I don't know what your personal Twitter is either. It's...
At Chris Dame, so it's at CHRIS,
Yeah.
D for Delta, A for Alpha, E for Echo, M for Mother, S for
And
Sugar.
you can go and badger him about stealing my iced tea.
Yeah, please
So-
do that. Hashtag who's pinched your iced tea. Can we just have a big shout out before we move on with the show to we had a little nice note on Insta this week, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, I got tagged in it. Yeah, I don't remember who sent it though.
Oh, good planning.
Yeah.
I
Well, I didn't know you were going to bring it up.
We are among the top 10 podcasts of a little WhatsApp, a little Instagram
I think
page
they're an
based
app
in New
in
York of
development.
Greets app. We are one of their second actually in their top 6 podcasts. So as you listen to this Greets app, thank you very much for the mention. We really
And thank
appreciate
you
it.
for tagging me in it. I didn't know people could easily access my personal Instagram, but
Clearly.
it's
But
fun.
yeah, thank you for the mention. We really appreciate it. Shall we?
Get
Crack
on,
with the show?
yes.
So we've got some kindness news this week. So
We do,
you want to
yes.
do you want to do the little jingle?
Oh, don't delete it. Kindness news.
And the first one is Reading barber who gives free haircuts to Afghan refugees.
A barber has been helping to put smiles on the faces of Afghan refugees by giving them free haircuts. The men who recently arrived in Reading from Afghanistan were treated to a trim by barber Wahid Wallah.
Ula.
Don't know where the W came from. The refugees said they were grateful to receive the service in the midst of their worry for family left behind. Mr. Ula said he was inspired to offer free haircuts 2 times a week after cutting the hair of a homeless man.
Amazing, great. You know what? What we need is just a few more people doing small acts of kindness like that, and the world would be an infinitely better place. Not that Russell needs a haircut at the minute because he's got the shortest hair in the world.
Not me hair again. You
Not
can't be
me.
any
No,
shorter than your hair, mate.
Well,
Dad,
well,
if I was going to shave my hair, that's a bit short, isn't it?
that is a bit short. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a bit short.
Yeah. What did you get? A 0 all over?
Yeah, blade all over.
Damn.
Blade.
Damn, I was just going to go for a number 2.
I mean, clearly, Russ, you've got too much hair. Because when you get to a state like mine, you're grateful for every shred of hair you've got left. And you're just taking it for granted.
You can have mine if you want it. I don't want it.
What are you going to do with it? What I'm going to put on my head?
What's it,
It's
the
a wig.
super glue out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Super glue on the back. The next one is now this is an American story, so let me translate for the English audience. Realtor, which I think is an estate agent in the
I think it's a
UK,
stage.
transforms abandoned properties into tiny home villages that give permanent housing to the chronic homeless.
A realtor in Missouri is determined to make her hometown a city where no one sleeps outside. For 9 years, Linda Brown and her husband David organised a nightly drop-in shelter where homeless people in Springfield could eat, shower and do laundry, use a computer and socialise during bingo games and karaoke, but they wanted to do more. So they transformed an abandoned mobile home property into a village of tiny homes that provides permanent housing to the chronically disabled homeless. They raised 4.7 million and opened Eden Village in 2018, erecting 31 tiny homes that are now occupied by people like Jonathan Fisher. He was battling substance abuse and had lived on the streets for 2 years when he met Linda Brown, who changed his life. In the worst moments of my life, Linda gave me guidance, care, and made me feel like I was still worth something, Fisher said. He says that Brown took the time to learn about how he became homeless and then encouraged him as he rebuilt his life. She even offered him a job.
Now sober, Fisher works full-time for Brown doing construction and maintenance on 31 homes and helping others experiencing struggles similar to what he went through. The driving philosophy behind Eden Village is the same that fuels the housing first movement. The root causes of a person's homelessness cannot be thoroughly addressed until his or her immediate housing needs are met. It's interesting with homeless because we've got a sort of homeless issue in the UK, but there are countries who subscribe and have had success from that housing first principle. Give somebody a bit of dignity and it doesn't work for everybody because each person's got their own reasons for being on the streets, but offering somebody a roof over their head and something they can call home then inspires dignity and the ability for people to start to rebuild their life. What do we think?
Yeah,
I definitely agree.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, well, that's it for Kindness News this week. Let's move on to the second part of our interview with the legend, the man, Andy Fearon from the Carlisle Vineyard Church. Now, Andy is an inspirational sort of fella. You enjoyed the interview, right?
Yeah, I did.
And he talks about the work he does in Carlisle, helping support the community and make Carlisle a better place, one kind at a time. So let's listen to the second part of Andy's interview. And I suppose part of the reason that I wanted to chat is because I heard about the sort of Give a Day for the City project that you do. Tell me a bit about that.
This is one of my favorite things because you would love it. And if you ever want to come on and hang out for some of the time, you'd be so welcome. So this started...
Can I bring a kayak so I can go for a little kayak on the lake? Because that is one of my favourite things to do.
Okay, listen, we're renovating an old house and we've got space for you and your family to come and stay. Or we can even do a house swap or something. We're going to be friends for a long time. So it'll be some beautiful places for you to kayak. You're so welcome. And so this idea of Give a Day, it kind of started actually. I remember maybe 12 years ago, I was sitting with some other church leaders talking to our MP at the time. And everybody's questions was about what can the MP do for us? And I just kind of got thinking, I wonder if we've got this the wrong way around. No disrespect to the MP, but the MP, they can only do certain things. They can only have a certain sway. And so this idea kind of began to bubble in my heart. And it simply is, it's the simplest of ideas. It simply says this: what would it look like if each of us looked in our hands, looked in our hearts, and gave away that one thing for one day? So if you're a builder, you give away, like if you're a brickie,
skills. Yeah.
If you're a bank manager, wow, that's different, you know. If you're a business leader, whatever you've got in your hand, whatever resource you've got, what would it look like to give that away for one day? And there's something within us, Chris, and I'm sure you've seen this. There's something within us as people comes alive when we live a life bigger than our own.
Yeah.
And I used to think that Give a Day was all about delivering these big projects. To be honest, the actual project has gone to the bottom of the pile of importance. And we still want to deliver the project, but we've realized that the connectivity with people, the community part of kind of like this community task, you know, we want to get the task done, but we want to build community.
Yeah.
We did this one project, and this was a beautiful project. Carlisle has flooded a number of times over the years.
Right.
And in 2005, 2006, it flooded again. And there was a number of properties that were not insured. No fault of their own, because if you've been flooded within 10 years, it's really hard to get insured.
Yeah.
So we man, I've got to be careful because I can feel my heart welling up. Loads of people were doing
Andy,
stuff.
just so you know, right, mate, you are allowed to cry. I cry on the podcast all of the time. So if you feel it, feel free.
Well, part of the thing is I can see stories, I can see people, you know.
Yeah.
So part of what we were doing, and we were not alone. Like the floods were the worst for some people, but you know, the floods also bring out the best in the city. So Carlisle saw the worst of the storms, but the best of the people. Me and my boy, so I've got two kids, Noah, who's 14 now, and Anna's who is 11. So this was like, what is that, 6 years ago. And one evening, because it was December time and it was cold, we were going around some of the homes that had been flooded, and the flooding had gone up. Like, they filled the whole living room. You can imagine how scared you'd be. You're upstairs and the water's coming up. So even today, we've got people in Carlisle who are scared when it rains, because they're like, when will it finish? Anyways, we went to this street that had been kind of overlooked and forgotten by people. And I said to my son, listen, I don't think anyone's there. Let's move on. But he knocked and he waited. And we had these little Cadbury's chocolate fingers. It was nothing. It was like a quid. But this house, the torch came on upstairs. This guy came downstairs. He's in his 60s, and he opened the door. And he just looked white, like scared, anxious, nervous, looked like he hadn't slept. And we just said, listen, my name's Andy, this is Noah, and we just want to let you know that you haven't been forgotten. And we handed him the £1 box of chocolates, and something magical, something spiritual, something happened in that transaction between my boy, who was 9 at the time, handing it over. Suddenly that box of chocolates became a box of courage.
Yeah.
Anyways, we built a friendship with this guy, and I remember sitting outside of his house a couple of months later, thinking of things like DIY SOS. And then I'm like, why not Carlisle? Because Carlisle's a bit of a bypassed place. People will say, oh, Carlisle, I bypass Carlisle. And I'm like, Carlisle, you're not bypassed. You're not
Yeah. You see it on a motorway sign. And yeah. Gotcha.
And sometimes that kind of gets into the people a little bit. And I'm like, come on, we're Carlisle.
Yeah.
So that wasn't the starting point of Give a Day. But through Carlisle Ambassadors, they were so generous. They just opened up the platform and said, Andy, come and share your heart. Come and share Give a Day. And I just said, come on, Carlisle. What's in your hand? What's in your heart? Give it away. Yeah. This girl, Melanie Taylor, incredible lady. She's a HR amazing expert. We met with Miriam Lowe, who helps lead Give a Day. Oh, I'll tell you this. Without Miriam, Give a Day would still be in my heart, and I'd be running around frustrated.
Well, look, we've already spoke about this, Andy. You need people who can organise you really well. If you're an ideas person, you need somebody to go, you know what? Can we get this done? And they go, yeah. And it sounds like you're Miriam's part of that thing.
Oh, absolutely. So Miriam, we do Give a Day. We are 50-50 in this. And she'll say, Andy, you came up with the idea. I'm like, yeah, but you done something with that idea. Anyways, we met with Mel in Sainsbury's food bit, and she's like, listen, I'm happy to get involved in Give a Day if you anything you're wondering. And I'm like, how do you feel about renovating some properties?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll give it a go. And we said, well, listen, we don't have cash, we don't have anything, but we've got loads of encouragement, and we think you can do it. anyways, she eventually got 35 individuals and trades to come and help renovate this house. Something like £37,000 worth of stuff just got done. And I remember being part of it in that week. And you know, loads, and then friendships have happened from there.
Yeah.
And this guy said, he said, listen, I wouldn't wish to go through it all again, but having met so many good people, I wonder if it's been worth it.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we, again, you know, one thing that comes up on the podcast, particularly over the last sort of year or so, because we, you know, the challenge you've got is when you think and talk for a living, you just wonder what you can do practically to help, Andy. So I felt that during the pandemic, that we could sort of do some kindness project lives on Facebook, and we were sort of doing sort of loads of stuff during the pandemic. But interestingly, you talk about the floods, and I'll apply that to the pandemic as well. We were hearing about people being so generous and kind during periods of crisis that that, you know, you never wish a crisis on anybody, but actually, and I don't know how you've found it, but tough times sometimes bring out the best in people, right?
Absolutely. I feel like COVID's been a magnifier.
Yeah.
It kind of magnet. So if there's isolation already there and loneliness, then that will be magnified.
Yeah.
But and there's a few little things like, so I found the start of COVID really hard because, and I'll be careful how I say this, but in some ways, and obviously all the personal heartache, like nobody wants to see that happen at all. But with a disaster, you kind of like, okay, we can serve you, we can do something. But the start of COVID, I'm kind of like, okay, give a day. Here's how we're going to love our city. We're going to stay home.
Yeah.
And I felt like, not that I'm Batman, but I felt like the Batcave's
What
closed.
could you do? Yeah. But then I'd imagine that what you helped with then had to adapt. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so we've done loads of different projects, and one of the things are, Chris, absolute heartbreaking. A couple of years ago in Carlisle, on Dixon's chimney, there was the most heartbreaking situation where a gentleman had climbed the chimney in the middle of the night and to take his own life. It was just the most heartbreaking thing, because the gentleman slipped at the top and he got into a really predicament where he was crying out for help in the night, and people weren't able to rescue him, and so sadly the gentleman died. But everybody in Carlisle, not everyone, but so many people saw this, and there was like traumatic, it was just traumatic to be around Carlisle at this stage. And one of the ways we're like, well, how do we serve our city? How do we love? How do we come alongside? So one of the things that we did, and this is where Carlisle City Council, they gave us like £1,000 to help make this happen. We got small white bags. Yorkshire Tea heard what we were going to do, and they gave us pallets of tea. McVitie's Biscuits heard what we do, and they gave us some tea biscuits. And we put some little cards of courage in there. We put some sweets in there. And we went round to 1,000 households around the chimney. We knocked on the door and said, listen, you know the heartache that's happened, and we just want to let you know that you haven't been forgotten. We see you, and you're not alone.
Love it.
And we just said, listen, if you need, we're here. And then we talked to the people at the cafe at the bottom, and they gave us a room. And we just created this space to talk, really. Now, I'm saying that because when COVID happened, we realized that this mental health is just going to be like a tidal wave, really. So again, Miriam, the marvelous, wonderful Miriam, she pioneered this idea of space to talk. So nearly every Friday during COVID, we've been in Carlisle City Centre with a team of people who've been trained as listeners. partnership with NHS, Carlisle City Council, and this small team of people give away a couple of 100 bags of courage every Friday. And we say to people, hello, have you had your free bag of courage yet? And of course, some people will be like, no, what is it? And other people are like, what? I've never got out for now. What's that? You're tricking me or something. But you know, it has led to so many conversations. And we'll just say, hey, how's COVID been for you? How are you? And I'll just tell you this quickly, Chris. You know, sometimes when you have no idea what you're doing and you think, oh, it's just a bag of courage, or it's just somebody's writing a little postcard or somebody, and people who are listening, they've done good deeds. They've knocked on the neighbor's house. They've called somebody when they felt prompted. They've done these little acts, and you think they don't really matter. Well, I just want to encourage every single person, no matter how small your action, no matter how short your text, no matter how small and insignificant you think it was, it can be absolutely life-changing for someone who receives it at the right time.
And we know this instinctively, because when something like that happens to us, we appreciate it, don't we? It's one of those things where you go, but it's just keeping that in mind that, however small that you believe that kindness, act of kindness is going to be, somebody's going to appreciate it.
So, a few weeks ago, just before we headed off on holiday for a couple of weeks, we were just packing things up, and this lady came and she said she found Miriam, and then Miriam said, Andy, come and listen to this lady's story. And this lady was already in tears, and she started to say, I'm here today to say thank you to you, because you don't know, but 2 weeks ago, I was in such a dark, dark place that it was potentially going to be my last day or two. I had a plan and I was going to fulfill it. Just because the isolation and the loneliness were just crushing her. And she was walking through the town center and she heard this little voice, and she was trying to explain this little voice. And she said, I can't even begin to explain this voice, because it wasn't just a voice. It was like a light, or like a help, or a bit of hot. She couldn't quite describe it. But the voice had simply said, have you had your bag of courage? And somebody then just gave her a bag of courage and talked to her for a few minutes and said, listen, you're not alone. We're here every Friday. And she came back to say, that saved my life.
Love that. So that was the second part of Andy's interview. We've got more from Andy next week.
Yeah, part 3, yeah.
We've got part 3 of Andy's interview next week, where you can hear a lot more about the amazing work Andy's doing. And I'm pretty sure that we said that we'd get Andy back on.
We did.
To tell us a bit more when some of the projects are completed, up and running, and moving forward. So we look forward to that. And let's get on with the show.
Let's do it. Tis the end of another podcast. But the end is never truly the end, because the end is always the beginning of something entirely new. I'm supposed to get this up.
I like the way you just casually looked at your elbow when you did that. I mean, that was really professionally done, and you've done it so much. I'll just have a little look at the elbow while I'm saying it. The end is not really all but small. Right. Anyway, last week's question of the podcast is that Mal. Last week's question of the podcast is that Mal. Last week's question of the podcast. Spotty elbow.
I had a breakout on my forearms in the week.
Spotty and Molly, I'm here with. We asked last time, because we are looking at universities. They're all our.
I have my top 5, yeah.
We've got our top 5. We all our open days are virtually booked.
Well, 4 of them are booked, and I need to book the last one.
Yeah.
But that's the virtual one, so.
Yeah, so we are on the hunt for the right university for you.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be a good question to just ask, what should we be looking for? What factors did you consider when you went to university or when you were helping your kids decide? So, or grandkids, or uncles, or aunts, or cousins, or brothers, or friends, or lovers, or dogs, or the bloke, or your neighbour. Anybody else you might want to
Random people you find on the street.
Random people. Anyway, anybody you've
I'm not going to go
helped.
up to a random person on the street and say, look, this was what I wanted to do for university, and this is how I decided.
Yeah, just wander up to a random person in the street and go, you go to Cambridge?
You could be one of them preachers.
You working on your masters, yeah?
Yeah. You got your PhD, yeah? No, genuinely, I know Mum laughs, and I will be potentially one day Dr. Dames. That's what I want. I'd love it.
That'd be amazing.
I'd love to get a PhD in something.
So would I. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Hard work.
But the challenge you've got, and this is like sort of part of the issue, how long can you stay in academia?
Forever.
Well, I mean, I know people who stay in academia and then just go on teaching and stuff like that.
I don't want to teach.
No, but there is a point where you've got to sort of enter the real world.
Put down the writing utensils.
Yeah, and actually go out and do something in the real world that adds value. And I'm not saying academia doesn't add value, research doesn't add value, but it's only for some people. I'm digging myself a hole.
Let's hope we don't have many academics.
I am an academic. I just don't want to be a professional.
But you know what? I think we all sort of know the benefit of focusing on improvement and learning and development in this podcast. We love you academics. Just, I don't know why you spent your life doing it. Right.
I can definitely understand why you want to spend your life in academics.
But spending time at university is what we're looking at, and we got a bunch of different answers. Chris Bud said, choose a city that looks like the most fun. I think he meant fun.
Yeah.
And choose somewhere that is at least a 2-hour train journey away from home. Now, that is a factor that you're including.
It's not 2 hours, it's 1 hour, but yeah, a lot of the places are like over an hour away.
At NotAdvisor1825 on Twitter said, personally, I'd look at the student satisfaction on courses, speak to people who've just finished and got different opinions. Some felt the Russell Group unis did not always give them as much help as so that they may be a consideration if important, but best to just visit them and chat.
That was the thing I didn't like about the Russell Group universities, was that they don't post their student satisfactions.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it?
If you're not going to post your student satisfactions, then are your students actually satisfied if they don't get to actually?
Well, I think some of the Russell Group universities do post student satisfaction, but Oxford and Cambridge don't.
No. Just a bit concerning.
And just out of interest, what are you doing right now? Are you picking your elbow or doing a podcast?
Both.
All right, okay.
I can multitask.
Multitasking is a fancy.
You brought it up, and now it's on my mind. You talked about it, and now I can't stop thinking about it.
Always on my mind. Right, Charlie said, I wouldn't overthink it. I visited 3 universities, could only pick one, and ended up going to a different one. Personally, I wanted to be in a proper city. I wanted to be far away enough from home and in a new region, and I didn't want a long commute from August to uni. All good points, Charlie. Thank you very much. Gareth James said, distance from home was a factor for me, as well as whether the uni had societies and teams that have reflected my knowledge.
I have looked at that for a couple of
Go on and tell us.
I remember that week in Cornwall. Was it week or 10 days? I don't remember. Anyway, we were away for that week, and I was like, at that time I only really had one clear uni on my list, and I looked at all the societies they had, and
what was that? Stoke, wasn't it?
Strathclyde.
Oh, I thought it was Stoke.
No, it's not even on my list.
You're not looking at Stoke?
No.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I did look at the societies and the groups and stuff as well. Yeah.
Did you ever look at the London School of Economics?
No, because I don't want to do economics.
Oh, no, they do psychology.
I don't want to do psychology.
They do journalism.
I don't want to do just pure journalism.
They do journalism and creative writing.
No, they don't.
I know they don't. Right. So Gareth picked his university because they had an active American football team. Are you looking for an active American football team?
No, not really.
Russ, are you looking for an active American football team? I reckon
Well,
Russ.
no, I ain't big enough to be a fridge.
Yeah.
Do you not remember the guy?
Oh, well, I once met the fridge.
Yeah.
There was a.
Well, you've met me a few times. That's what I'm saying about.
Yeah, you're my.
You berated me this morning about kicking your bed.
Well, we were talking about when we were both kids. We had bunk beds, and Russell used to kick the top bunk of my bed to just to annoy me, basically. But yeah, and you kicked me today as well.
Did I?
Well, I was trying to grab the remote control.
I wanted the remote
I've
control.
got a marathon tomorrow, and you kicked my legs.
It must just be something about you, mate.
I'm just.
For one, I didn't intentionally kick you. I just kind of, you came to grab the remote, and I was like, right,
See,
reaction time.
I assumed I was lovable. Everybody else's behaviour means I'm just kickable. Dan Fred said, I remember sitting my UCAS form and literally picking somewhere based on location, distance from home, but easy in getting back, and it's nightlife. And Andy Fearon, who's a friend of the show because he's our interviewer this week, has commented and said Cumbria University is located in the most stunning location and within the Golden City of Dreams, aka Carlisle, which is part of my story. What's not to love? That man loves Carlisle, clearly.
Yeah.
He's really plugging Cumbria.
Richard Bishop said, dependent firstly on the course and on the proposed career. Steve from the gym, who's the legend, just went campus bar.
I don't drink.
What campus bar does the best Coca-Cola? Carol Hussey said local area. Is there enough to do? Patty Dame said how quick.
This is what I was worried about.
How quickly money can get there. Very important. No, it's not.
No.
Phil,
How's 8 hours?
Phil Fitzgibbon said, number one, academically, choosing a university proven in your subject profession of choice. 2, culturally, choosing a university suited to your ideals and values. 3, independence. It's a huge leap into living more independently. So choose somewhere that allows you to flourish. Being honest with yourself about what you want and need. Number 4, financial.
I do have a savings.
Boring, I know, but it's always important, as you know, to consider the long-term financial impact.
I have a pension. Leave me alone.
I've got a pension. Oh, can we talk about as we've got Russ live?
No,
right? Can I tell you how excited Russ is to have a pension?
Yes, Ross.
Russ.
Well done, yeah.
Feeding the pension love. This Zoom call 3 weeks ago. Russ.
I was quite pleased.
Russ,
yeah.
how you doing? First answer, fabulous. Fabulous, right? Fabulous. I went, Russ, why are you fabulous? I've got a pension, haven't I? He was that excited about having a pension.
Wait, did you not have a pension before?
No.
He's never had a pension.
Never had a pension, no.
But now he works for the family firm. He's got to have a pension, hasn't he?
Everyone needs a pension. You can legally start a pension at 16. Why not?
Yeah. But the interesting thing is I spent half my working life not talking about pensions, but including pensions as part of the plans that I build for clients. I don't get that excited. I've never called a pension fabulous. Russ, on the other hand, loves a pension, didn't you, Russ?
Pensions
Just the expression poetry.
I love my pension. No, I'm a pension.
You love your own pension. Okay. Sean Rivers said, location, not something I considered, and I've been to 5 or 6 universities. It's good to visit and see what it's like on the grounds. If I'd visited Bournemouth, which I did consider and discounted, I would have signed up in a heartbeat. So location and go and visit them. Dave Forsdyke, who's a friend of the show and ex-guest, particularly during lockdown, we used most of his content, didn't we, when we did our live shows? Thanks, Dave. Really appreciate it, mate. It's all about
course content.
I'll drink that iced tea really quickly.
B. gut feel for the social side and accommodation. My 3 eldest all chose their uni because of the course and the uni ranking for that course. Plus, they had a good feeling about the accommodation and social side.
Matt Aitchison is going through this too, and he's looking at the course, university reputation, location, and like campus feel, and does it offer the sport and other extracurricular activities? What extracurricular activities would you look for?
They've got a board game society at Strathclyde.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There is.
I'm not going to go out and drink. I'm just going to go home and play board games.
Well, before you do go away, I know we've got some time. Sophie and I, my youngest daughter and I, went out for a day of summer to a place in London, certainly worth a visit if you're in this part of the world, called Leek Street Arches. Now, it's near Waterloo, and if you go under it, it's got the most amazing graffiti art.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
You have been there.
I have been there.
Did you go to the Board Game Cafe that's at the bottom of Leek Street Arches? We've got to go there because it is amazing. I think they've got about...
Cluedo?
Well, no, they've got Cluedo, but they've got like 700 different board games.
I'll play Cluedo.
And it's called Drafts. So thank you, Drafts, for looking after us too much. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bar and ball games, amazing.
That's what I see on telly the other day. Pretty amazing. It's a train that takes you under the old post train.
We've been on it. Yeah,
it looks amazing. Yeah.
So that's another London tourist destination, the Rail Mall.
Yeah.
And you can go on the train that was used back in the day to cart post all around London.
Yeah.
It is absolutely brilliant. Sarah Lou, back to the university answers. Sarah Lou said, "How much is the rent in houses after all's are finished?" And we'll be looking up with Tom, Sarah's son, after Christmas. Francis Barrett said,
I actually got the feeling when I was choosing the universities. I went to a lot of open days around London and outside of it. And when my dad and I visited Plymouth, we just knew that that's where I'd be. To the point that I hadn't got a place yet. My dad was asking about the local swimming pools for me to get a job.
Sam Chilton said modules, exam or coursework, which is one of the factors that we're taking into account. I started off doing a straight history degree with a minor in sociology, and then it became a joint. In the second year I did a straight degree. Availability of work, which is a fair one, and I think actually if you do end up going to Scotland, that in Glasgow that should be pretty available. Degrees are important, but part-time work whilst you study I think is invaluable. Very few degrees require 40 hours a week on a course. And Kevin Hull said, course content first, within a reasonable distance from mum and dad. Our two chose Sheffield, both completed now, and think they made really good choices.
Yeah.
And that, my friends, is it for another... I've really enjoyed myself today. Who else said? Put your hands up. This is a podcast. We will see you, my friends, next week on another jam-packed episode of The Kindness Project. Have a lovely week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.